Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this 18th episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole in Season 2. Special guests for this episode include Vella Lovell and Mike Cabellon from Mr. Mayor, which new episodes air Thursday nights at 8 Eastern, 7 local time on NBC. We'll also visit with country singer and songwriter Noah Garner. He's got a new single and video, Gotta Get to You. We'll also visit with our good friend, comedian, and podcaster Jeff Dwoskin. We're going to talk a little bit about streaming video releases. Would you rather be able to binge a whole season or have to wait for one a week? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk with singer and songwriter Jeff Coffey, has a new single for 2021 called Someday. And we'll wrap up the show with our good friend, singer-songwriter Allie Colleen. We'll be talking about her latest single and upcoming album. Of course, if you would, please take the time to subscribe, drop a like, comment, leave some feedback, and of course, share with your friends. Our first guest from the show Mr. Mayor on NBC, it airs Thursday nights, Vella Lovell and Mike Cabellon. And guys, I hope I got close. I tried my best.
You did.
You did great.
Both of them, yeah.
I had a little help. Art helped me out to begin with. But first off, Vella, I'm going to ask you a little bit what it's like to see the feedback and the love for the new show, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, it's so awesome. I mean, we've been working on this show for over a year now, off and on. So it's been so exciting to just get it out into the world and have people laugh at home. Like, it's really the best feeling ever. And especially right now, I think we could all use some laughter and escapism in our lives. So it's been really great to just see that people are doing just that.
And Mike, for you to have the new show out, especially in the midst of all that we've all seen and gone through in the last 12 months, I mean, to put a smile on people's face, make them laugh and forget about their daily life just for a little bit. I mean, how cool is that for you?
Oh, it's the best. I mean, I think it was a huge relief because the day before the show premiered, we had...
Uh-oh.
He didn't want to talk to me anymore.
I know. He was done.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm back. Is that better?
There, much better.
Yay, there you are.
I'm so sorry. No, I was really afraid that, right now people wouldn't want to tune into a show about politics, but people tuned in and the response seems to be pretty positive, and all I've ever wanted to do my whole life is make people laugh, and so I feel really, really privileged to be a part of this.
Now, is this the first opportunity for both of you or either of you to work with Ted? And what was it like the first time going through a script, reading through? What was that first time like?
Yeah, it's so wild because, I mean, Ted is such a legend, a TV legend, truly. And so, his voice even is so familiar to all of us. We hear Ted Danson's voice and you're like, it's, very comforting. And so to hear it, when we do read-throughs, it's so wild to just be, hearing his voice and being like, oh, I'm acting with him. It's so wild because you almost think that, he should just be on a TV in your house, but he's it turns out he's a real person. And he's great. So it's been awesome.
Now, Mike, for you, how close is your character to the real Mike in regular life?
I think that Tommy and myself are both sort of type A driven personalities, but I think that in the show, Tommy can sort of be Machiavellian in his pursuits. He kind of doesn't let anything get in the way of him getting what he wants, and I would hope that me as a person, I can be a little bit kinder than that. But, we were just saying that I think that as time goes on, the characters are sort of molding to who we are as people at the same time. I think once the writers kind of get to know us more, they're sort of writing to our strengths. And that's been really nice to see the character kind of change to be more and more like me as the episodes go on.
And Vella, we talked about the way politics are in life. It is definitely good to laugh about some politics and sometimes with humor to be able to touch some sensitive subjects and get people talking in a kinder way. I mean, how important is that these days?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what you're saying, I think hopefully in the best case scenario, it's therapeutic. I think same as Mike, we were all kind of oh my gosh, what a crazy time for this show to premiere when in the midst of everything happening. But honestly, like, it was actually really great, even, just as actors to come back and get to work on it and get to work on something light and funny and silly in the midst of everything. And it's been really I feel like, hopefully it's therapeutic and great for people at home to be able to laugh and say, wacky, silly things do happen in politics, not just terrible things that stress us out, yeah.
So Mike, something I like to ask everybody. I'm going to ask Mike first, and then Vella, I'll have you as well. What's the biggest thing that you learned in 2020 that you would have never envisioned going in?
Oh gosh, I think what I've learned in 2020 is how to sit still. I think traditionally I've been very much like a shark. Like I feel guilty if I'm doing nothing. I don't really know how to relax and not work. But I think this has kind of forced me to just be okay with sitting at home and doing nothing and giving myself permission to not feel like I'm working on something. So I hope I can take that mentality into this upcoming year and kind of be okay with the quiet spaces.
Vella, for you as well.
Well, Mike stole mine, so what? Now I don't have anything to say. No, I mean, I'm going to save that, and also just kind of in general, I hope that the things that we've learned in 2020 are incorporated into our lives, if that makes sense. That we don't just say, oh, that was a crazy thing that happened, back to how it was. I hope we learn some things. So I think maybe just kind of, it's been okay, my biggest lesson has been things will definitely slap you in the face that you could never have expected, and try and learn from those and kind of move forward with them in mind,
That's right. And again, new episodes Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 local time on NBC, Mr. Mayor. And Vella and Mike, appreciate you guys taking some time. Vella, first, I'd like to ask you to make sure and let our listeners know where they can keep up with everything you got going social media-wise as well.
Yeah, I am Vella Lovell, so just my first and last name, on Twitter and also on Instagram. All
right. And Mike, you as well.
Same as Vella. It's just my first and last name. I'm at Mike Cabellon on Twitter and Instagram.
All right. Well, Mike and Vella, thank you guys so much for your time. Looking forward to the new episodes, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Our next guest on the podcast, country singer and songwriter, new-ish to Nashville, and our first chance to visit with him, Noah Garner on the line. And first off, Noah, good to visit with you today.
Man, thank you so much for having me. I remember last week, it was kind of a mess getting together, and I'm glad that we could get together and finally have this conversation.
There you go. Now, Noah, when did you know that you had something special connecting you and music? I mean, when was the first inclination for you?
Oh, man. I would say probably, I started singing from the time I could talk, my mama says, the second I knew how to talk, I was singing, and I picked up my first guitar at 7, and that's kind of where it all started. My great-grandfather played for Hank Williams Sr., and so my grandfather collected guitars, and so music was kind of always around. And from the time I was 7 years old, I was playing, and then I think I started to take it seriously when I was about 16, 17.
Now, I know that you kind of had an opportunity to play in Nashville, and that this kind of solidified all of your dreams, what that was all going to entail, right?
Yeah, man. I came here to just kind of visit, and because I had done some American Idol auditions and stuff and didn't get in, and, was feeling kind of down. And me and my family decided to stop in Nashville, and I got this wonderful opportunity and took it. And it was kind of the launching point of everything.
Now, what was it about the live performance? Was it because it was in Nashville? Or was it just a combination of everything working together?
I think it's just a combination of everything. I think Nashville has a funny way of calling people to it in a weird way. I think people are drawn to the city no matter what, And I think that the music is such a big part of that. And then you add in the fact that, you get to be a part of the music and a part of the story in that town. And it's almost like being at Disney World.
Now coming from rural Florida, was it the country music inspired in you because of the generations ahead of you? Is that kind of why?
Well, I think it has probably a lot to do with that. And it also has a lot to do with the fact of, country songs are just our way of life. It's how we all lived. Growing up there, every country song talked about the things that I was seeing and the things that I was doing, and that's why it kind of was always in my soul. But from the time I was born, I was listening to, George Jones and Keith Whitley and Alan Jackson and George Strait and all that, Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, all the classic stuff. And, I got to listen to some of the coolest guys in the late 90s, early 2000s come out with kind of like that newer age country sound, and I saw where it was going, and they always talked about things that we were doing in my hometown. So I think that's kind of what started the whole thing and connected me to it.
And there's so much, it's such a wide genre too, country music. I mean, you've got all the way from the bro country to even the rap, however you want to call it. But that right. Also lends opportunities for artists of different types as well.
Well, yeah, it's super cool because when I got music is so amazing because there's so many genres to begin with. And then when you really get into doing music and you really get into breaking everything down, there's so many subgenres and little things, and there's so much variety that it gives you as an artist a chance to really dive into who you want to be and really how what kind of music do you really want to make. Because when somebody says, hey, I'm a country singer, to me, what kind of country music? Like, are we talking that older kind of twangy George Jones style? Are we talking that 90s style, or is it like a big band? Is it bluegrassy? Is it that rap stuff that's coming out now, which is kind of cool? I worked with Big Smo, and he was actually my first road gig. I played acoustic guitar for him and sang chorus for him, and it just goes to show that when I got here, I didn't think I would ever be a part of something like that, and then lo and behold, there it is.
Yeah, you don't go to Nashville thinking you're going to hook up with Big Smo. That's not the normal thing. But
well, right, but it's such a great it's part of my story because it's the thing that it was my first road gig ever. So it introduced me to what road life was all about and going on tour and playing on the road and what all that entailed. It's just wild because you think Nashville, you kind of think that polished country tone, and it's the big city, it's the music city, it's the whole thing. And I didn't even spend time here really. I was here, I had my fun, and then once we were out on the road, we were gone.
Now, what has this last year, obviously as a new artist, has been a challenge, but what have you learned most in the last 12 months that you carry with you as we look forward to hopefully things opening up again here in the near future?
I'd have to say patience. I am not a patient man at all, and I know I'm not. I work on it all the time, and I think that 2020 was a big lesson in patience for me. It was, you kind of learn how to expect the unexpected, and cherish the small things. I feel like those are kind of things that, we get caught up in our daily life running and gunning all the time, that those little things and the patience that life brings is something that 2020 definitely taught me that I didn't think I had very much of before. It's mainly because, we would get things going and then something would come out and they'd be like, oh, we got to cancel, or, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, which makes it one of those things where, you had to learn how to be patient with, okay, things don't always go my way. That's fine. Sometimes things are outside of my control. That's fine too. And then, when you do get the chance to play for 5 people, 10 people, or you do like a Facebook Live and there's people on there listening to you, those things mean so much more.
Now, what's the most memorable Facebook Live memory you have from this past year?
I would think there's 2 that stick out in my head really clearly. We did a Tiger King themed Facebook Live, and that was just hilarious. That was awesome. I was Joe Exotic, and my mom dressed up as Carol Baskin, and the girl that was Katrina Austin doing it with me. She dressed up, and it was just so much fun. We had a great time. So that one stands out. And then I did one where I was in a cabin just outside of Gatlinburg. And it was just me in the cabin, and I did this Facebook Live, and we got really in deep. I played a lot of songs that had a lot to do with, like, not losing people, but, songs where it talks about loss or things like that. And I lost my dad when I was 9. And so me and the Facebook Live crowd had this wonderful moment where, I sang a few emotional songs and kind of got emotional. And then the outpour that I got in the comments of like, hey, you're doing great. We all love you. You sound awesome. That's such a great song. It's so great that we get to see this side of you. That will always stick out in my head because I think like those moments don't happen very often anyway, much less on something like Facebook or Instagram.
And how hard is it for you as an artist sometimes to pull the layers back and make yourself open and vulnerable? Does that get kind of hard in those times?
I think the thing about it is, as an artist, you're trying to paint pictures for people and you want to be understood and you want to be accepted. I think that doesn't happen a lot, I think that, because of that, it lends the artist to kind of be reserved and be as, to themselves maybe as possible, or kind of keep who they are to themselves, keep the music and the business separate. Right. And I think that's good and healthy for people, but I also think it's so important to peel back those layers and really just be who you are as an artist. I feel like it may be difficult, and it's kind of difficult for me sometimes, but I feel like, it's one of those things where, as difficult as it may be, it's important. You know what I mean?
And of course, you've got the latest single, "Get to You," and the video as well, "Gotta Get to You." Sorry about that. Tell us a little bit about the process of doing a video in the times that we're living in right now.
So, doing a video, I really don't have a whole lot of experience with beforehand. You know what I mean? I only did one video before "Gotta Get to You," and that was pretty much self-filmed. It was me and a bunch of high school buddies from my hometown and family that met at a bar, and we decided that we were going to shoot a music video, and we kind of made that. And so, that's, I don't have a whole lot of experience, but I will say, comparing the two, it's definitely different when there's, people in the room and you're kind of filming scenes and there's noise going on, and there's people around, there's makeup, hair, wardrobe, stuff like that. The little things that keep you on your toes and keep the shoot moving. It's one of those things where this past one with "Gotta Get to You," it was just me and the videographer. That was it. It was just the two of us, and you have to think about things that, you might not think about if you had a whole team with you, or, we kept going, well, do we want to change outfits here maybe? Or do we want to go to the next location? And it was kind of one of those things where it was very much kind of improv, very loose compared to other shoots.
Right, I got you. Now, if folks want to find out more information about the single, about the video, about upcoming dates as those become available as well, Noah, where's the best place folks can catch up?
So if you look up Noah Garner Music on any social media platform, will come up, and also at noahgarnermusic.com.
All right. Well, Noah, it has been, I'm glad we finally were able to get this set down, and great to visit with you today. Continued success to you, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up in person here in the near future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Our next guest, also a friend of the podcast, Jeff Dwoskin. He comes from the podcast that is aptly named The Jeff Dwoskin Show. And Jeff, I guess you were a shoo-in for that, but always good to visit with you, my friend.
Actually, it was a third choice for host for that show. But yeah, it's amazing how many Jeff Dwoskins are out there. It worked out, though. I beat him out.
So, Jeff, well, we're going to delve into a subject here in a little bit, but I've been following the podcast and keeping up. You guys, you've been having some amazing comedians, and for you, this is kind of like reunion time for you on your episodes, right?
It is. It's fun because sometimes you haven't seen someone in 14 years. You're connected through Facebook. Podcast is a great opportunity to kind of reconnect with people and kind of talk to them again, other than just the quick jibber jabber comment back and forth maybe on Facebook. So that's been fun. It's been fun to be able to kind of just talk to people who I haven't really been able to just talk to in a long time. And yeah, so the podcast has been great for that, and hopefully people enjoy it as well.
Now, the comedy for you, has it been a strain trying to find humor as of late?
I've been thankful that I haven't been hit hard by the pandemic, other than other than losing my day job and stuff like that, but nothing that isn't repairable. So I consider myself and my family lucky for that. So I've been able to keep, wide-eyed about it and focus on the podcast. And I do a live show on Wednesdays with some friends, so that's a good way to connect with them and just have a good time there. So yeah, I've been making the best of the situation.
And you're getting farther along into how tech savvy are you now as opposed to about a year ago?
Well, I learned some sound tricks here and there, and so that's good. You bump into certain things and learn certain filters, and it's funny. I keep it. I try not to overproduce the show, so but it does help to. I've gotten good at getting rid of background noise and stuff like that. And so, or at least better at it than I was, and some tricks. Like I started doing this call-in thing where, and the first time I did it, the guy was like, listen back to it. He's like, you can put a phone filter on it, so it sounds like I'm on the phone. I'm like, ooh, that's a good idea. So, it's amazing. Google phone filter, Audacity, boom. It's 2 seconds. And, so it didn't sound like he was in the studio because it was like a phone call-in bit. So, just little things like that you just have fun with. So.
The thing we talked about on Facebook last night, I know you posted about the binging as opposed to the weekly serials, if you will. I loved your take on this one, and I wanted to discuss in some depth, I guess I should say, on that.
Well, I think there's a place for binging. Binging is great. I binge all the time. But when it's a new show that comes out and it's entering the pop culture, the idea when a Netflix, there's two ways to release new shows, right? They either they release it all at once, and so you get 10 episodes all at once, or they do it like, say, Disney Plus with The Mandalorian or WandaVision, where The Boys on Amazon, where it's weekly. Every week they release one episode, which for those listening who've only been listening to TV recently is how most of us grew up. You had to wait a week in between shows. I think when they release a new show and they put the whole season on at once and people stay up all night and watch it, it makes it real difficult. It removes it from, I think, a long-term kind of conversation. It removes it from water cooler because you can't have conversations with people about a show if you've all seen different amounts of it, right? The beauty of what I think WandaVision has kind of invigorated is it's fun to be able to examine a show together as a society, as a culture, with your friends, and guess and wonder what's going to happen next week, and then experience that a week later with everyone else, and then talk about it again. It just there's something about that that's great. Otherwise, one guy, one ass everywhere on Twitter is going to watch the whole dang season, and he's going to think it's cool, where at the end he goes, and I'm just making this up, Wanda dies, you know what I mean? And it ruins it for everyone, just like they did with Avengers. Tony Stark dies, you know what I mean? Like 2 seconds after it got released. And the other problem is, it's like when you binge watch something, you watch 10 episodes straight, you don't remember which episode was which episode. It all blurs together. So you can't actually have a conversation with anyone, even if you've watched 10 and I've watched 4. In your head, you can't remember where 4 ended. That, you know what I mean? So it just removes the ability to talk about shows in a good way, unless you've all watched the entire season. And not everyone has 10 hours on the first day something comes out to sit there and watch it. So, I mean, binging is great if it's like a show. Like, I'm catching up on Atypical right now. All 3 of those seasons have been out, so we're binge watching that. So I'm not saying binge watching a show is bad, but Atypical's been out now for a very long time, so I'm just catching up, So when I watched Breaking Bad, I binged Breaking Bad and then actually watched the last 8 episodes live, as they actually aired. So that was fun to be able to experience that. But, I'm rambling. What are your thoughts?
I agree. And I think it takes me back to the time back when I was like 8 or 9 years old, when it was the Dukes of the Hazzard. And every Friday night you made plans to be somewhere to watch. It was an event. And so, yeah, I that's the difference I see between the binge and releasing them like that. But yeah, we're also talking about a streaming service too. So it's not necessarily quite exactly the same.
Well, what's nice about now versus, long time ago, 5 years or even a few years or decades ago, when you would watch a show, is if people are talking about WandaVision and you haven't watched it, you can catch up because they're all right there. And then you can catch up with the conversation. And, I remember, it's funny you said that. I remember, Seinfeld, when Seinfeld was originally on, that was you watched that. That was appointment television. Mm-hmm. I remember not talking to somebody because they called me during Seinfeld, and I was so annoyed. Who calls during Seinfeld? I mean, it's and so it was it sounds so silly now, but yeah. So it's just, I think it's important to be able to talk about things, and the other thing I don't understand is I don't understand why it benefits a Netflix or anybody to put all 10 out, because basically what happens is a week later, nobody's talking about it anymore. You know what I mean? It's like if WandaVision was all out, everyone would have watched it, binged it, or felt they missed the boat. And then Netflix moves on and talks about something else. Disney, what is it? WandaVision, 8 episodes. WandaVision, they're going to have 2 months where people are talking about WandaVision. When if it was all released, I don't think after 2 weeks they would have been talking about it again. It would have been like, oh, that's old news. On to the next thing. So I think that is our next series to actually start. We have yet to start WandaVision. So am I really missing out? It's, if you're really into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's great. And, the first 4 episodes as they kind of unfold are really, really cool. Part of the culture right now is you have to do your best to keep up, because there are so many people that like to spoil things online because they think that makes them cool or something. I don't know. And so, so in that sense, it's interesting just to keep up. WandaVision's great as it's kind of like more of a mystery unfolding. You don't really know what's happening. And so a lot of the conversations are theories, people talking about theories. Like when we watched, when The Empire Strikes Back originally was in the, I Am Your Father, and everyone was like, oh my God, is that real? Is that, what could that mean? All that kind of stuff. And, where you kind of debated and talked about it and came up with theories, so now the theories, it seems like the people who make these things put too much stock in the theories of everybody and try to make them happy. It used to be we did it and then put it in the filmmaker's hands to make the ultimate decisions of how it played out, and we enjoyed that. So that's old school thinking, I guess.
So after now another year under your belt on the podcast, do you set goals moving forward? I mean, I know you've had some opportunities to do some really cool things with the podcast and do some engagements as well. I mean, do you set goals for that kind of stuff, or?
My goals kind of are the same in terms of, I've been doing a lot of reaching out, trying to get cool guests. I gotta keep up with you and all your awesome guests. And so, so there's that. And, it's amazing, some of the people I've reached out to and then they've said yes, so it's like, I'm like, oh, sometimes it catches you off guard when they say yes. I'm like, oh, now I gotta really do it. This is nerve wracking.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, so, I mean, and it's just, I think it's always just trying to get people to listen still, it's always just, when you're, it's cute that I named the show after me, but, not Joe Rogan. Nobody knows who Jeff Dwoskin is. So the name of the show, I adapted the name of the show to Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show, just to kind of give it the idea that it is a humorous type thing. And, that kind of, just to give it some more context when somebody were to look at the logo or the name of the show on Apple, iPod, podcasts or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it's picking up. I mean, you get more listens every month and all that kind of stuff. And, it's just a matter of kind of breaking through. So I'm having a good time with it. So that's the most important thing, I think.
That's the big part, right? That's what they say.
Right. That's what they say. It's an honor to be nominated.
Yeah, I know, right? Now, I saw something, I think it was this morning, I saw you're going to be speaking at some Podfest or something like that. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, that's exciting. Podfest Global, it's one of those things I submitted to be a speaker. Some people were talking about it on Clubhouse, so just on a whim, filled it out. It was funny because what I asked to talk about, they actually counter offered me. And they're like, well, we'd rather you talk about Twitter. One of the threads of my podcast and a lot of my background is social media. So every one of my podcasts, I kind of do a social media tip as like a small piece of it, just because that's a part of me. And so they asked me to do it on Twitter. And so I was like, all right, yeah. I mean, as long as I can be part of it, that's all I care about. So yeah, so it's like March 5th, I think is my date, but I'll post more about that as it gets closer.
That's cool. Now, what's the upcoming episodes? Who's your next guest coming up?
Oh, I haven't decided who I'm going to release yet. There's a good chance it's going to be Alonzo Bowden, the comedian. I just finished editing that one. And so Candy Clark is the one I released yesterday from American Graffiti and The Man Who Fell to Earth. That was a really fun interview. We kind of dived into. It's fun when you rewatch the movies and then you can have a real conversation. It's part of that research and time they got to put in before the interview. So I watched actually American Graffiti and more American Graffiti. And then I started to watch The Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie and Candy Clark. And so it's like, so you can really have some conversations because you forget some of the nuances and stuff like that. And so you can actually have fun with it. But yeah, sometimes I like to focus on some specific things and some guests you go a little broad with, meaning you cover a little bit of everything. With Candy Clark, kind of took the opportunity to kind of really dive into American Graffiti. So she shared a lot of great stories with that. We talked a little bit about the sequel, More American Graffiti. And then I had to ask her a question or two about The Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie. So it's actually a silly question, but I had to ask. It was one of those things I was watching it. Sometimes I watch the movies and I think about something that has nothing necessarily to do with the movie, but I just need to know, So that was that. But yeah, she was so sweet and so fun and great to talk to.
Well, Jeff, I always want to make sure and let our listeners know the podcast, the social media, that's obviously huge as well. Where's the best place to keep up with all that?
The best place is my website, jeffisfunny.com. You can also type in JeffDwoskinshow.com, but I figure people can't spell my last name. So JeffIsFunny.com gets you there, and you can listen to all the episodes. And then from there, you can click to any podcast app you want to subscribe or anything like that. That would be super cool. But if you want to just be adventurous, you can search Live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show, or just Dwoskin on your podcast apps. But, depending on how adventurous you're feeling.
All right. Well, Jeff, it's always great to visit with you, man. I enjoy the podcast. I appreciate you taking some time today, and hopefully we'll catch up again real soon.
That would be amazing. Thanks for having me. It's fun as always.
Our next guest here on the podcast is singer, songwriter, bassist, a little bit of all of that, and I'm sure some more we'll find out as well. Jeff Coffey on the line with us today. And first off, Jeff, I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule.
My pleasure, and thank you very much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Now, Jeff, doing the music, and first off, I want to find out where first was that you knew you had something extra special that you had to go chase out there.
Yeah, well, I actually did. Long story short, when I started to put some songs together for this upcoming album that I'm working on. As musicians do, we used to have the little tape recorders, right? But now we have our phones. It's great. I've got my phone is full, jam-packed full of like little song tidbits and ideas and seeds of ideas. So I decided to, once I got started, to kind of pick the best 10 that I had. So I did that, and I had the chord changes and the melody to this particular song. And so I said, okay, well, I'm gonna work on this. And as far as the subject matter, when I sat down to write the lyrics, I really had no idea what I was going to write about. And then I just started to kind of, reflect on what was going on that year, last year, and it just started flowing out in the song. It was finished within the day. So, I was really happy with the way it turned out.
Now, you've had the opportunity to play alongside some amazing artists and musicians. You actually got to play with one of your favorite bands growing up. Is that right as well?
Absolutely, yes. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to be a member of Chicago for a couple of years. Some tremendous musical experiences there. It was a blast playing, that catalog of music with that band was like a dream come true, And when I was in high school, all through school, and some of college, I was a trombone player. So, James Penco was like my hero.
Of course.
So it was really cool to not only get to meet him and hang out with him and get to know him, but, play his music and his band with him. So it's pretty cool experience.
Now, what did you take away from that experience that you applied to your solo project?
Well, I as far as my outlook on music, it was very much the same. I always try to put my best performance always whenever I get on stage or whenever I get in front of a microphone. I'm recording music. Which is what those guys do too. They hold themselves. They're amazingly talented musicians, and so you got to bring your A game all the time. So I still stay true to that. I think one thing that I have grown to appreciate is the fans out there more, because I have come to interact with them more on social media now than I ever have before. So that's been a cool experience.
Now, has the pandemic allowed you the opportunity to maybe get a little tech savvy and get to delve a little bit more into that social media, if you will?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Out of necessity, I think, too. But it's funny. I mean, I started, I was still playing out there here and there with after I left Chicago, I started playing with Don Felder from the Eagles, which is a great experience as well. And so I was still playing here and there with him, but at the same time, I started before the pandemic, I started doing live concerts, virtual live concerts, because I saw some other artists doing it, and I thought, well, that's kind of something, cool way to stay in touch with your fans and, keep your chops up, and you can. So I started doing a few of those, and then the pandemic hit, and then I really just kicked it all up into gear and started doing them 3 times a week, really. So
now, how has the pandemic affected your songwriting or inspiration for songwriting?
Well, I would have to say for my first single, Someday, that song is all about what's been going on, especially last year. The craziness, all of the lunacy that happened last year, that we all saw on the news every day, every night. That's what this song is about. It's kind of an exercise in human behavior and how we treat each other. But in the end, it has a hopeful aspect of maybe someday we'll figure this out, the pandemic, being locked down and not being able to perform anywhere, which is it's like for a musician, that's like taking the keys away from your car, It has given me the opportunity to really hone in on writing, and it's been actually the perfect time to write a record when I can't go somewhere and play and get on a plane and go play somewhere. So it actually has given me a lot of extra time and like a purpose during all of this pandemic,
Now, what would you say is the Achilles heel for you when it comes to working on a project? Is it coming up with the hook, the melody? What is the hardest part for you?
Yeah, that's, the hooks and melodies seem to come natural to me. Whether they're catchy or not, that's, I guess that's relative. I'll leave that up to the people listening. But, to me, the hardest part is lyrics, because that's the hardest thing to get right and to say what you want to say in a clever way and not sound cheesy. It's real easy to be cheesy. So that the lyrics to me are the toughest part of it all.
Now, what has been the one thing in the last 12 months that you've really had the opportunity to just sit down and really hone in on your craft?
Yeah, I think my guitar playing. I think one of the things that I've done during these virtual live concerts is I would pull up, some tunes from some of my favorite artists, or maybe songs that fans have wanted to hear, like, request that I would never normally have, learned the song. But in the process of learning it, I learned new chords and I learned different fingerings for different positions. And so it's like, it's allowed me to kind of improve my guitar playing, which is kind of cool. That's always a good thing when you can get better at something.
That's never a bad thing. That's never a bad thing. Now, what's the outlook 2021 for? Has the goal setting changed going into the new year, or has it been pushed back, or is it just kind of altered just a little bit?
Well, that's a great question. I think for different musicians, it might be different. It's everybody's setting their goals, but it's like, we don't know what this year is going to look like or when the gates are really going to open. I've seen artists, bands and artists, have bookings like over the summer, but then things are starting to get rescheduled more towards the fall of this year. So I would say, as a prediction, as far as live performances, I see things opening up more in the fall of this year. Not sure what the summer is going to look like, which is a shame because the summer tours are always a big thing. But for me, my goal is to finish this record and my goal is to try to have it released sometime in April. And then as it gets closer to that release, really start taking an assessment of what live venues are looking like, and try to get back out there as soon as I can and play live music and support this record, because that's, my friend Verdine White from Earth, Wind & Fire said it the best a few days ago. He said, I think that really once this pandemic is over, it's going to be better because the bands are going to be chomping at the bit to go play, and the fans are going to be chomping at the bit to go hear bands play, and I think it's going to be even bigger and better. So I hope that's the case.
Not very many people that you could quote that would have a better perspective than Verdine as well. Always enjoy visiting with him. What a great dude.
Oh yeah, he's great. I love Verdine.
Jeff, if folks want to keep up with the updated information about the album release, the single, YouTube, social media, and all that, where's the best place for folks to keep up with you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Facebook is I'm all over Facebook. Jeff Coffey Music on Facebook. And also my YouTube channel. Every time I release a song and a release of a video, I do lyric videos, and I do on several of the songs, I'll do the concept videos. That's all on my YouTube channel, Jeff Coffey on YouTube, and my website, jeffcoffey.com. I have Instagram as well. I'm all over social media, but Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and my website. That's where all my information will be. That's where people can get the record. When it's out, they can get the singles. They can get my other records, all at my website. And it's all over all of the rest of the, platforms, iTunes Music, Apple Music, Amazon, all that stuff. So
the entire webosphere is covered.
That's right.
Well, Jeff, it has been great to have the chance to get to know you a little bit more today. I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule. Continued success as you work on the finalization of the project, and hopefully, brother, we can catch up again real soon.
I would love to. That'd be great. Thank you.
Our next guest on the podcast and friend of the show as well, singer, songwriter Allie Colleen with us. And first off, Allie, always great to visit with you, my friend.
Hi, I'm always honored to be on. Thank you so much. How's it been? How you doing?
I think as well as anybody. Not worse than anybody, and not too much better than anybody, but just kind of hanging in.
Good. Same with me. We're very lucky. Everybody's good on our end, and that's really all we care about too much right now anyway, so we're doing good.
That's right. Now Allie, the latest single, ain't the only hell my mama ever raised, the feedback that you've been getting, and how ready are you to be able to be in front of people playing again?
Oh man, I'm getting to the point now where it's been so long, I'm starting to get a little nervous about it. It's kind of like, man, that sounds a little daunting. Now that we used to get out there every weekend and go play for people, now I'm kind of like, I don't know if I know how to people really anymore. But we had a little run this last weekend. We did some shows this last weekend, and it was so good to be back out there. So yes, I'm itching now to get back out there. But for a while, I was nervous.
Now, what is it about going on stage that really triggers it for you? Is it the walk up? Is it the hearing of you being announced? What is it that triggers the yes, it's time to go?
I think this probably happens later than it should, but it's about midway through that first song. About midway through that first song, I start to settle in, and I'm like, okay, I got this. But always up to it, the first verse always seems so fast, and the first chorus always seems so fast, and then midway through, you kind of start to settle down, and then I'm like, okay, here we are. Like, we're here to do this, and then it becomes fun.
Now,
then it becomes really fun.
Is it nerves or adrenaline that drives you as you come on stage first?
It would normally be just kind of an adrenaline fun thing. I love performing, and honestly, I don't get too nervous unless it's something brand new. And so 2020 was, my year to do big band shows for the first time. And needless to say, that was an entire year that didn't really happen, So here we are at the beginning of 2021 looking at the same exact thing, like band shows. And so now it's not so much, I can go up there and forget and make my time between verses longer than normal, and I'll get my bearings together and we'll move on. But now, I'm responsible for 4 other people on stage and making sure that we all stay together and making sure that I don't skip a song on the set list, which I did twice this weekend. And, they adjust so well with me. But right now it's totally nerves that are fueling everything. It's very not a comfort zone for me, but I can feel with every show we play that it won't be too long before I'm scared to play by myself.
you go. And Allie, for you, I know you did a Facebook Live for us, and I know you've done streaming shows and stuff like that. What have you learned from those that you're going to take back into the live show?
Oh, just the gratitude of people being there, to perform to. It's so funny. I've joked all year with my husband about installing, an applause thing in the house so that at the end of my songs during my lives, somebody will clap for me. It's so crazy sitting there performing to just an iPhone. And it's even crazier when you can see the little live button and you can see how many people you're reaching, and it's more people that would be at a normal show anyway, but it doesn't feel like it. You feel like you're alone by yourself in your kitchen singing to your phone. So this last weekend, we had some crowds that were super, paying attention, and some were just there because they wanted to be out of their house, and I will never again take for granted one person standing there listening to me.
Now, how has the songwriting inspiration been for you over the past few months?
It's been really tough. I didn't really realize how much I pull from my surroundings to write about, I didn't really realize how often I'm pulling hook ideas or titles or scenarios from stuff that I'm seeing around me. So, when you're stuck at home by yourself, I just found that it was kind of hard to find inspiration and find things to really want to write about.
Now, do you have a hard time also in songwriting wrapping up the song or saying that it's done? Is that a sticking point for you as well as a songwriter?
It's totally dependent on the song, but yes, there are songs that I'm still going in for final vocals next week, thinking, well, if you sing the line this way, it means this, but if you sing it this way, it means this. And I just don't know which one I want it to be, kind of thing. There are songs like that. And then there are songs where it's like, we have no choice. This is the storyline. This is what has to happen and that kind of thing.
And the goals coming into 2021, obviously you said the full band show's got the EP as well. And how has goal setting changed? Has it just been pushed back a year? Is that kind of how it's gone, Allie? It's
kind of been pushed back a year. It's also been, I would say, we've been able to maybe make our goals a little more specific than we would have originally, just because we had so much time to sit here and think about them. So there's that. But then there's also the reverse kind of side of it, to where I truly am taking everything this year kind of show by show as far as the performance side of what I do goes, just because I don't know, man. Last year was really tough, for everybody, obviously, but losing all that shows and that kind of stuff, it was really hard, on our hearts and all that kind of stuff. And, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, especially in, some of these places where we're going and touring. So, in one set, we're stepping back and really just taking it show by show and really just appreciating the ability to go out and tour and that kind of thing. And then the other one is like really aggressively planning this year and next year. So we're kind of right in the middle of it, but we're just really excited to go do stuff and just trying to find the right pockets to do that, because everybody right now is itching to do stuff, kind of thing.
That's right. And speaking of 2020 and having to change everything up a little bit, what would you say is the most COVID related purchase you made last year?
Oh my gosh, the delivery fee on Uber Eats. Oh my gosh, 100% that, and probably like in-app purchase subscriptions. I was either always trying to buy time on Candy Crush, or I was buying new gym memberships that I didn't do online. Oh my gosh, those kinds of things for sure.
That's good stuff. Now, for you going forward with the EP, how excited are you to have the new music out to folks, and how soon are we looking at the new music?
Oh my goodness. I have done more in the last week and a half than I have done in the last year. I can promise you that. We recorded 12 songs on Monday and Tuesday. So we have a full album that we're hoping is coming out the end of March, early April. And so our plan right now is that you can get the entire thing, physical copy, all that kind of stuff, either at shows or like via my website kind of thing. But since streaming and the whole technological world of music nowadays isn't really set up for albums, you will get the songs one at a time, every 6 to 8 weeks for the year kind of thing. So tons of options on how to get the music, but it's coming, and it's coming pretty soon. Well, I've got deadlines as soon as Friday. Oh my goodness.
Do you get any rest at all, Allie?
I'm always asleep if I'm in a car. So that's positive. So I'm always asleep if I'm in a car. So that's when I take my naps.
There you go. Now, Allie, you mentioned the website and of course social media. What's the go-to thing that you've got that you've learned on social media? Honestly,
I can't speak for everybody, but I find that with my followers, they just really, really appreciate kind of the organic stuff, So as much as I always think it's the opposite, to where my videos need to be really polished and professional and all those kinds of things, they just want to know what I'm doing in between shows. You know what I mean? Like as I'm traveling, like they just want to know what you're doing, what you're up to, and that kind of thing. And I've just found that just being really personable on social media has really, really benefit us in the sense of we're coming up to shows and we're meeting people that as they tell me their username, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know a lot about you. And if you come to me and tell me you're Jessica, I'm not going to know. But if you tell me your username on Instagram, oh my gosh, we literally already have a relationship. So I just try and be really personable on social media.
Do you find it overwhelming trying to keep up with all the socials that are out there now?
I really do. Especially when you work so hard on one for so long. And then all of a sudden there's a new one, that you need to all of a sudden be viral on. I think that can be really overwhelming, but I also think there's such an importance in the different audiences that the social media platforms provide. But Jiminy Christmas, they could calm down a bit.
Now, Allie, as you talk about upcoming tour dates, the album release, the music, all of that, where's the best place? Obviously, the website.
Yes, if you want to keep up with us, the website's awesome. Honestly, Instagram really is where I'm most active. But if you're looking for simple, informational kind of things, our website always has, all of our tour dates on it, all of our cities we're coming to, that kind of thing, as well as merch when it's coming and how you can get it. We also have a fan page. It's connected to my Facebook page. So if you go to the Allie Colleen Music Facebook page, you can click that big blue banner that says become a supporter. And we have a fan page that you guys can be a part of. That's really intimate and really close and all that kind of stuff. So tons of ways you guys can follow us out there.
All right. Well, Allie, it's always great to visit with you. I truly appreciate you taking some time out of what seems to be quite a crazy, busy schedule of recording and all that.
Thank you.
Look forward to, hopefully you have a great rest of your week and we can catch up again real soon, my friend.
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you so much. I wish all the health to your family. Thank you, guys.
Again, thanks for joining us for this episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, question, or anything else you'd like to know, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at GQ with Cam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, feel free to click the support tab and follow the instructions. If you have a special guest idea, email me gqwithcam@gmail.com. Thanks again to Brandon Allen for coming up with a theme for Good Questions. We're going to let him play us out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. Join me tomorrow for episode 19.